Hello, good evening, bonjour, hola, white, happiness, good welcome to everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Um, I can't believe we're back together again for our winter series. It's incredible that that fall has gone and we're deep into winter now. Of course, we can't see your beautiful faces because we're in the webinar mode because nearly 450 people are joining us. And webinar is and increasing. So this is the most efficient way for us to be connected in this way. I do have a couple of little extra bits that I can share with you. Okay, so you found the chat. That's great. You can say hello there. At the bottom of your bar, there's the reactions button. If you want to send some reactions up to the screen, that can help our presenters know that you're with us and seeing us. Lovely. Good job. You can use the show captions button at the bottom of your screen to have a closed caption transcript play across the bottom of the screen if that helps you to engage with the learning today. And otherwise, if you want to post questions for Stephanie and Nicole into the Q&A, there is the best way for us to do that. Okay, I'm going to pause the music here and let's dive in. In fact, it's still going. It's just really persistent nature sounds. Nature wants to be with us. How lovely. Okay, everybody, welcome. This is the Outdoor Learning Winter Virtual Workshop Series. We're kicking off. It's Jan 16th, and this is managing eco-anxiety through outdoor learning. We're starting with a big topic here. That's a lot. I'm joining you today from the traditional unceded territory of the Sinixt people, the people of the bull trout. But where we are intersects with four First Nations, and it's the Secwepemc to the Crufts is far west to the east of us, the Okanagan Silks to the south, and the Tanaha to the east. I took this picture just a couple of days ago because we had sunshine and very cold temperatures, as many people did. But it was the footsteps that drew me in of this pathway that we're leading on. And for me, that pathway of leaning into and learning about Indigenous ways of knowing and being has shaped all of the work that I'm doing. And I think if you are connected to outdoor learning, that is a pathway that's absolutely necessary. If you're not sure whose traditional land you're on in North America, there's a link in the chat coming soon for native-land.ca, which is an opportunity. It's a starting point to learn. Then you can start looking at the Indigenous languages of the land and move in. This picture was me this summer, and this was the journey that leads me to the steps. And last night, actually, we hosted our first Secwepemc language course, which is the language of the Shuswap. And this is Chief Mike Archie, who opened for us, his brother John there. And they came to visit me when we were building a relationship to talk about doing this course. And they came to visit me here in Skihington this summer. We went huckleberry picking, and it was one of the most beautiful moments of my life when they invited me to sing the honor song with them at the top of the mountain to honor all the beings, living, non-living, all the ancestors. And it was just incredibly moving. So whatever pathway you're on, wherever you're going, I'm very grateful that you're here with us, and I'm very grateful to be a guest in this beautiful place and to honor and center these ways of knowing in the work that I do. Okay, I know we can't see you, 530 of you. Let's do something intentional and take like one giant collective breath together. So we'll breathe in and breathe out and let go of anything. And I'm going to play you a random short video. That's my little dog, and these are two random dogs we encountered. And this is, how are you showing up today? Dog 1, 2, or 3. Dog 1 is this tiny little monster. Dog 2 is the golden, and dog 3 is the doodle, and I'll sort of explain it. But you can share in the chat. How are you showing up today? So are you like scattering? Are you speedy, but being probably overwhelmed and chased by the things coming at you? Or are you like kind of chill, quite handsome, the nice orange dog, sort of investigating? 3 is late to the party, sort of a bit slow, but gets there in the end and participates in all the fun. I can't see the chat actually. Yeah, come on, share. Are you? But number one is like, I'm small, but I'm powerful. Has all the energy, but maybe like is a bit having a bit of wild time and maybe not holding on for dear life. 2 and 3, yes. Are you doing some cool dance moves? Are you 3 and everyone's just sort of like, oh, I'll just have a little rest? Thanks. I know it's silly, but these are things that make me happy, and watching these dogs filled me full of joy. However you're turning up, we are glad that you are here. Really quickly, we can't do all this work, this free work, without the support of people. And one of the things that we have created is an outdoor learning team, an outdoor learning partnership of nearly 100 organizations that are, some are international in their scope. If you go to our website, outdoorlearningstore.com/about/partners, you will see you can go directly to the websites. If you're looking for tools, resources, or support, you can find it. We've got Canadian friends, more Canadian friends, some friends in the US, more in the US, even more. That one again, just for fun, just in case you hadn't seen them, and some amazing advisors doing some incredible work. Okay, everyone, before I just introduce Nicole and Stephanie here, I just wanted to offer, and this is an incredibly kind offering from an amazing human called Kim Fulton. I know he will be listening in because he comes to every workshop. Kim is a fellow educator with the Habitat Conservation Trust Foundation. He's a former principal and teacher of decades. Sorry, don't mean to show your age, Kim. And when Kim reached out to me this morning, he's also on the teacher advisory committee for Take Me Outside, but independently he reached out and said, hey, look, especially with a topic like this, we've got a lot of thoughts and feelings and emotions that are going to be coming up. And so what Kim has offered is to, there's an open Zoom line that will be open for an hour after this. We'll put the link in the chat and several times in case you miss it. And Kim will host a safe space for people to share in small groups about their thoughts, feelings, and emotions. So kind of eco-anxiety debrief. So if anybody that serves you, if you would like to participate in there, if that feels like a nice space, then that will be available to you. And thank you so much, Kim, for offering to do that and for being a great host for that. He'll guide you well. He's guided many, many people in this beautiful world. Okay, the other thing, because it's new and exciting, and I forgot that we have all these different things to do, is I have a little poll that I can share where we can ask who's here today. We're going to start with that. There is another poll later. So I'm going to launch this for me. So where are you joining us from? And there's 2 questions here. There's a top question. Are you joining us from Canada, the US, further afield? So last we had 25,000 registrants for the fall series from 57 different countries represented. So it was pretty amazing. Nobody from Antarctica yet, but I'm hoping, because I was chatting to a researcher who's down there, but apparently the internet is not very good. And who are you? Who are you joining us? Are you an admin support, informal, parent, none of the above, just passionate? Love it. Love it when people turn up. I'm going to just leave it open for just 5 more seconds. 4, 3. You work at a museum, Marissa? That's lovely. Yeah, we are muted. We can't have you on mute. If you do have questions or comments, share them in the chat or in the Q&A. That's 3, 2, 1. Going to end it there and just share the results. So almost 50-50 up here in the in Turtle Island. And if I scroll down, we have got every category that we could think of and that would fit in the 10 categories of people connected to outdoor learning. What a community. Thank you so much for being here. It's very, very exciting to share with you. I'm really sorry, Steph. Also, did not let you introduce yourself, but go forth.
You have one more poll to do first, though, don't you? Do you want to do that?
No, it's later.
First?
They were both
it's later.
there.
Sorry. Oh no, I've broken down the 4th wall. Something to look forward to. And if you're reading what I'm putting in the chat too, you know that there's prizes at the end to look forward to. So I'm there in the chat. If you have questions or tech difficulties or anything like that, I'm in there to help. This is a really fun part of my job, and it's not often that I get to be in person with folks, so this is a very lovely space to share all together in the virtual webinar. I know you're all typing in the chat. It's great because we can't see your faces. And if you're new here, my name's Steph. I've been co-hosting with Jade for quite a while now. I'm the program manager at Take Me Outside, and it's a delight to be here. I'm calling in from the traditional territory of the Kawatsan people, the Cowichan tribes, the Hulkaminam speaking peoples, what's currently known as Duncan on Vancouver Island. And if you're also in Western Canada or the Pacific Northwest, you've probably been going through the same sort of cold snap and snow and everything that's been happening here. And I was learning about all the different Hulkaminam words for snow recently, and there's a bunch of different words about, a snowstorm, snow that is just falling, one here, one there, one here, one there, really slowly. Snow when it's really cold and the snow gets really fluffy and powdery, and that was really encouraging me to notice my surroundings a little bit more when I was out walking my dog today. So I hope that even despite the cold, I hope you all get a chance to head outside and be noticing those different types of snow where you are too, or the rain or whatever you got going on. But I'm going to pass it back to Jade, and I will see you all in the chat.
Thank you so much. That's so beautiful. What a lovely way to bring our attention into that space. Okay, I think I remember to do most of the other stuff. Again, questions into the Q&A for us. We are recording, although it's not saying it is recording. Oh, it is. It's at the bottom of my screen. Bear with us. We will return. Part of me is still sort of buried beneath a layer of quality street chocolates and endless reruns of Hallmark movies. So I'm coming back slowly but surely. Be patient with us. And we're recording, and there will be an follow-up email that goes out tomorrow with a link to the recording and any of the resources that we share in here. So look out for that. Could go in your spam. So if you don't have it by lunchtime tomorrow, please send us a message and we'll make sure that we get that to you. But okay, it's time. We've rambled, and now we're into the main delicious meat and potatoes. If you eat meat, if not, maybe like a vegetarian meatloaf. I don't know. Stephanie Doyle, PhD, Education Programs Manager at Earth Rangers. Earth Rangers Homeroom, which supports K-6 educators in transforming children's concerns about the environment into positive action through classroom resources, Eco Clubs program, and the EcoAnxiety to Eco-Action micro-credential that we'll hear more about later. Also joining us today is Nicole Forsyth, who's the Managing Director for Earth Rangers USA, a nonprofit committed to instilling environmental knowledge, positivity, and the confidence to take action in every child in Canada and now the US. It's so wonderful to host you. It's been amazing to get to know you through our partnership and the work you're doing, and I can't wait to hear more. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thank you, Jade. All right. Stephanie, you want to kick us off?
It looks great, but you are on mute. Still on mute there, Stephanie.
I didn't see the little mute block thing. Well, thank you. Thank you for the introductions, Jade, and welcome everyone. We're very happy to have you with us as we address this very important topic. So I'm Stephanie, I'm here with Nicole. Before beginning, we would like for this to work. We would like to acknowledge that the Earth Rangers Center is situated on the territory and Treaty 3 lands of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation and traditional territory of the Huron-Wendat and the Haudenosaunee. We are very thankful to work and to play on this land and seek to be worthy stewards of it. Here is our roadmap for this presentation. We'll begin with a quick introduction, where we're talking to you from, what is Earth Rangers, who are Earth Rangers, for those of you who aren't familiar with us. Then Nicole will talk about eco-anxiety and you. I'll talk about eco-anxiety and kids. Then the heart of our presentation is the 5 E's to drive eco-action, and then we'll address next steps. So about Earth Rangers, we're the largest youth environmental organization by membership globally. We've been in Canada for 20 years now, so since 2004, and now we are also in the US. We have programming in English and in French, and currently we have 50,000 active members and 300,000 alumni. Our approach is environmental knowledge, getting kids out into their local community, outdoors, out in the nature around them to learn about the environment, but remaining action oriented. So we see that there are some things that could be fixed. How do we fix them? So action oriented and developing confidence to take action. Just really quickly, here are our programs. We have 2 types of programs. We have programs for kids and programs for educators. So for kids, our Earth Ranger members, Earth Rangers podcast and ER Teens, a volunteer program for youth. And you can learn more at earthrangers.com. And for educators, we have the Earth Rangers Assembly program, Earth Rangers Homeroom program, which is full of different educational resources, Earth Rangers Clubs program for someone who wants to start an eco club and doesn't know where to begin. We have lots of material for you. And these address K to 6 age. And we have our eco-anxiety to eco-action micro-credential. And for all of that, you can learn more at homeroom.earthrangers.com. So to begin, when we say eco-anxiety, what words come to mind when you hear this? You can write the words that come to mind in the chat, and Nicole is going to take a look at it, see what's coming up. While that's happening, I would like to acknowledge that when we talk about eco-anxiety, it's not a clinical diagnosis. There is a difference between eco-anxiety and clinical anxiety, but it is a useful way to talk about the feelings, to talk about the emotions around changing climate, biodiversity loss, etc. So Nicole, what words are coming up?
We're hearing about a lot of doom and gloom, a lot of fear, a lot of feelings of being overwhelmed, apprehensive, climate change, worry, lots of worry. Yeah, so lots of emotions happening right now, which is very understandable.
Yeah, very understandable. The definition that we work with around eco-anxiety is that eco-anxiety refers to fears of worry or feelings of worry, fear, and even despair, doom and gloom that are experienced as a result of exposure to the realities of climate change, biodiversity loss, and other environmental problems. So if you're here, you probably have experienced eco-anxiety, are experiencing eco-anxiety in some way. So I'll pass it over to Nicole, who will talk about eco-anxiety and you, especially in the role of educators. We have all types of educators here, outdoor educators, forest educators, elementary school educators. So Nicole.
Thanks, Stephanie. So before we get into strategies for ways that you can help work with students who might be experiencing eco-anxiety themselves, we feel like it's really important for everybody to, think about their own eco-anxiety and, kind of showing up for your students, having some awareness of where you are yourself with eco-anxiety. So we're going to talk a little bit about that first. So we're going to do a poll, and I think we have that set up, Jade or Steph, as a poll through the webinar.
Yes, indeed.
All right, so over the past 2 weeks, thinking about yourself now, how often would you say you have been bothered by feelings of eco-anxiety? Not at all, a few days, several days, more than half the days, every day or nearly every day. So I'm watching those come in now just to kind of get a sense of where we're all at. Seeing a few pop up in the chat too. Okay. All right, most of them have come in. So we're seeing a lot, about 43% are experiencing a few days, and about 22% are feeling this way several of those days. A few of you, about 9% are more than half the days, and 13% every day or nearly every day. So definitely some eco-anxiety. So hopefully some of the things that we talk about today will be some things that can help, and definitely encourage people who are feeling this a lot, especially the almost every day, really make sure you've got some support, turning to somebody to be able to talk through some of these emotions that you're experiencing. And we'll talk a little bit more about that, and possibly join the Zoom call that has been offered to happen after this. Okay. So another thing that you want to think about, I need to move the poll out of my way. Let me see how to do that. Okay, I think that's right. Is to, also really be thinking about, so where your feelings are coming from in terms of your own level of eco-anxiety. You also want to be thinking about how this intersects with different aspects of your identity, and whatever that identity is for you. And so whatever lived experiences you may have that have impacted your emotions around something like climate change. Is your family accepting? Is your family not accepting? All the different types of things that could be impacting how you're feeling about the environment and climate change. So keep those in mind as you're processing, what level of eco-anxiety you're experiencing. So based on how you're feeling, even if you don't have a high level of eco-anxiety, it can be really almost automatic to shy away from sensitive topics, especially if you're a teacher and you're not sure how much of something to talk about in a classroom or how much to talk about with kids in a particular educational program. It can be a little scary to talk about things that you feel like, maybe you shouldn't be talking about them. And, we're here to really say that there's ways to do this that are very appropriate for educators and can be really helpful for the children that you're working with. So one of the things you want to really try to do are practice your facilitation skills. A lot of this does not come automatically. We're often not taught as children how to talk about emotions. I was not taught at all how to talk about emotions. I had parents that were pretty uncomfortable talking about emotions. So it was something I really had to practice doing. And as a former educator, I really had to practice doing that with children as well. So some of the tips that I'd love to share with you is really trying to, one of the best things that you can do for kids is to just show up and listen and be there to listen. You don't have to be praising them, passing any kind of judgment on things that they're saying. Just the actual you listening to them is probably the strongest positive reinforcement you could do for children that you're working with. So practicing that genuine listening can be huge for kids. And this means you don't have to actually say anything, right? You just have to listen. So just showing up, just being there to listen is huge. And it can be an easy way to avoid passing judgment. So if you feel like you have a lot of judgment around different views of climate change or not, or things that kids might say that might upset you personally, one way to avoid judgment is to really just stay in that listening zone. Another tip is to reflect back what you hear. So this does two things. One, it shows the kids that you're listening. So if someone says, oh my gosh, I'm so worried about polar bears, just saying to the class, okay, so Sally's worried about polar bears. What does everyone else think? So you're just reflecting what they said. You're not adding any judgment. You're not making a comment on that. And it just really helps validate what they're feeling and what they're saying, which can also be very empowering for students. Another strategy is to redirect. So someone throws something out and you have absolutely no idea how to respond. You don't always have to be the expert. I know you feel like sometimes as an educator, you have to be an expert, but you're there as partially a facilitator to help kids be co-constructing and co-reflecting on what they're learning. And so sometimes even better education can happen if you play that role of facilitator and just redirect to the class, redirect the peers. So what that might look like is someone, says something, you don't know how to respond. Hey, I don't know. What does everyone else think? Like, it's okay for you to say that you don't know the answer to that and just offer that up back to the class as a way to have a conversation. And it can lead to some really, really good discussions. And the students will feel very validated and very empowered that you're asking them those questions. So just to follow up on all of this, eco-anxiety in you and where you're sitting with this, as I mentioned earlier, just make sure you're seeking out resources to help you find the support that you need to help manage some of this eco-anxiety, because it's really hard to show up for your students in this space if you're not doing that important self-care to make sure you're able to have these conversations and manage, stay resilient and manage some of the emotions so that you can really maximize what the kids can get out of these conversations. And then, it's baby steps. It's everyone is at a different spot, right? As you could see from the poll, everyone experiences different levels of eco-anxiety, and everyone is at different levels of finding solutions or implementing strategies that help. And we're going to talk about some of those strategies that can help with eco-anxiety, which you yourself might want to do. So we're talking about them in the context of how to do these with your students. But many of these tools, like, doing some action that makes you feel good, is something you can do too. I volunteer with a salamander brigade. I help salamanders in the spring cross the road. It is the most fulfilling, amazing thing I've ever done in my life. And it makes me feel good. It makes me feel hopeful. I'm helping this one, well, not one, there's actually hundreds at a time cross the street, and it's incredibly rewarding. And so find those things that drive you and that keep you in this field and doing what you're doing, because it's all incredibly important, as you know. So figure out where to start, figure out that one action, that one thing that you're comfortable doing, and start there and then build from there. And if you're not sure where to start, you have no idea where to start, look for positive stories of kids, people doing action, doing things for that are making a positive difference, because those can be really great things to fall back on and get inspiration from.
Okay, thank you. And we're now going to talk about eco-anxiety in kids after eco-anxiety and you. One thing to think about, have you seen eco-anxiety in kids, in your students, in your own children, in kids that you work with in various capacities? What does it look like? What kind of expressions are they showing? What topics is it about? Is it because they can't go out to recess because of wildfires? Is it because the animal that they love is endangered? So just keeping in mind some of what you've seen of eco-anxiety in kids. Research is pretty limited when it comes to elementary age children and eco-anxiety. So we undertook 2 studies in 2020 and then again in 2023 to capture attitudes and actions related to environmental issues by children age 6 and 11 to get an understanding of what they feel and what kind of actions that they take. The information can be found on our website, both for the 2020 and the 2023 study. But the key takeaway is that eco-action is key. And we've all heard that. We hear it frequently. If you want to empower children, eco-action is the key. But what does that mean? What does that look like? How can we help kids take eco-action? A big result, a very useful insight from our study was the 5 E's of eco-action, or the 5 E's that drive eco-action, which is a very useful framework to think about how outdoor learning, how taking kids into nature, how talking about issues can lead to eco-action. So I'll hand it back over to Nicole. to talk about the 5 E's.
So as a quick overview, we're going to go into more detail on each of these, but these are an overview of the 5 E's. So empathy, really making sure you have a chance for kids to talk about this, have those emotions be talked about. Educate, giving kids education, the opportunity to learn about things like climate change, environmental stewardship, really helping kids connect to nature, giving them a chance to really feel like they could do something in their community. Excitement, making this fun, making it engaging, making it something they're really looking forward to. And empowerment, which is really putting kids in the driver's seat, giving them the tools so that they can teach others, giving them the tools so that they really feel like they can explore this. So a little bit more about empathy. Empathy really is sharing emotional states. So giving kids the vocabulary to talk about emotions, being able to share it with them each other. So in the classroom, having kids talk together, building relationships around empathy and how they're feeling about the environment can be really, really impactful. And then as I mentioned earlier, really not shying away from these sensitive topics, but giving them a chance to talk about the negative news that they're hearing. So, these things are real, they're happening. I think the tendency is for adults to shy away, protect kids from them, but it's really better if they can talk about the emotions because they're hearing about these things. And they really need the chance to be able to understand them and unpack them.
The next E is education. And before I talk about education, I just wanted to mention that the photos throughout the PowerPoint, they're all Earth Rangers. So all Earth Rangers who've accomplished missions and sent us back pictures of the missions that they've done, of the eco-action they've taken. Education, in terms of education, there are two big things that are important to bear in mind. Age-appropriate learning about climate change and biodiversity loss, as well as social emotional skills. So in terms of age-appropriate learning, it's both topics as well as the approach. Considering the age of the kids you are working with, how are you going to approach the problem? How are you going to talk about it? Is it going to be talking about the fact that animals need a place to live just like we need a place to live, or is it going to be talking about habitat loss and what we can do? It depends on the age. It's useful to talk about both of these things, but how to go about it? Are you going to do it experientially? Are you going to take kids outside? Are they going to do research? These are things to take into account based on your students or the kids you're working with. And in terms of social emotional skills, working together is key for eco-action. If we're going to make a difference, which is why we're all here, we want to help kids, we want to make a difference, we need to work together. Everyone needs to work together. So developing the skills to work together, expressing yourself clearly so you can get your message across, finding solutions are all really important aspects for eco-action. Some keys are raising awareness in a relatable way, using local examples, also talking about kids, work that other kids have done. We'll come back to it, but there's so many kids doing so many cool things, and for kids to see themselves reflected in what's being talked about. One key too is being mindful of the words you're using, and how you're framing the discussion. This is an example I like to use. If you're taking care of the planet, you're responsible for it. I take care of my bedroom. I make sure it's nice and clean. So I want to take care of the park to make sure it's nice and clean for the animals. Whereas save the planet, that could have a little bit more of a severe overtone, but it could also be a superhero that saves the planet. So being aware of the words that you're choosing. We use all of these: take care of the planet, help the planet, protect the planet, save the planet. But how are you using them? Being mindful of that. Always including discussion of next steps, what can be done, how can we take action, and a key is to ensure it's next steps that kids can do. We hear from a lot of young people, I'm told to not drive so much, to be careful of how often I take the car, but I'm 8 years old. I don't choose when I take the car. So ensuring that what's being discussed is things that the kids can do. That is something that they're able to do. And then finally, teamwork, group discussions, working together, projects together. We do have different educator resources on the Earth Rangers Homeroom site. Fun little activities to take learning outdoors to inspire eco-action. This is an example of the magic camera, which is a fun way to go outside and observe nature close to where you are. Now I will pass it back to Nicole to talk about excitement.
So this kind of maybe goes without saying for those of you who are working with kids and trying to make learning fun, but obviously the more exciting you can make this, making sure kids are really finding a way to go out, get out in nature and experience that wonder and awe with nature, even if you are talking about, the science side of things that might be doom and gloom, you want to still find ways to make the connection with nature really fun and exciting and something that they look forward to. Different ideas for doing that. As Stephanie's been talking, Earth Rangers has a ton of different activities, all designed with excitement and fun in mind. So there's some great resources on the website. Starting an eco club can be a great way to make it exciting, giving them a chance to feel like what they're doing is meaningful, that actually has a real impact, can also be exciting. Making games. There's different games on the homeroom website that kids can do. School-wide challenges, adding some fun competition into it can make it exciting. And then really looking for stories where kids, especially youth-led programs, where kids actually have done some work and made a project, that can also be really exciting for other kids to hear about and learn about. And there's some example of some kids there that you can look up to hear those stories in more detail.
And there's tons of resources to find stories of young people taking action that I find them very encouraging every time I read them. Too. The fourth E, environmental stewardship, engaging in local focused nature education, such as outdoor learning. I think we didn't mention this early on, but we've split up the 5 E's, but they're not mutually exclusive. Something that's environmental stewardship is also exciting, is also education. We've just broken it down that way to talk about it, but they're not mutually exclusive. So engaging in local focused nature connection, as we've already mentioned, it's important to understand the community around you first. We want to take care of what we know. If I know the park next to my house, I love the park next to my house, I have good experiences, I want to take care of it. And not all kids, I don't have to tell anyone here that we're all convinced of the importance of outdoor education, but not all kids have the same access, the same ability to get out in nature. So all opportunities are precious to engage with the environment. By fostering a deeper connection to nature and to the community, it develops this desire to protect the natural environment. It's important to adapt to your context. So getting kids outdoors is great, but that's not feasible in some areas. So there are also ways you can bring the outdoors indoors. So going out to nature or bringing nature in, depending on your context, there are different ways to engage with nature, but engaging with what is around you, what's local. And one of the benefits of acting locally is something we've repeated as well, that it enables kids to see the impact that they're having, that they are having an impact. So being sure to take that time to sit down to talk about the impact, about how they've contributed to caring around them is an important step in eco action, fostering it, ensuring that they will continue in the future.
Okay, and empowerment, the last of the 5 E's. This is, again, really making sure kids have a chance to be in the driver's seat, giving them a chance to plan projects, think about what issues might be happening in their community, giving them a chance to reflect on how this impacts, their personal life, their family's life, and helping them create projects that can address some of those issues that they're able to identify. Giving them the tools to help organize those projects, identify those problems, put those projects, to those problems. And we have some resources on the Earth Rangers Club platform that are designed to do just that. So you can use those resources. They're free. You can sign up for a club just to get access to the resources, and maybe get inspired by some of the things that we've had our Earth Rangers do through these clubs. And then also really important to make sure kids have the opportunity to share these different projects with others, because again, that gives them a sense of empowerment, and also really help them recognize the skills that they are bringing to solving these problems. So just the more you can really help them identify ways that they feel like they can take action, they can do things. These are definitely ways to help address some of those stuck emotions that come with eco-anxiety. I think I just mentioned everything on there, so we'll skip that slide.
Yeah, I was looking through school announcements. So those are the five E's for eco action, to drive eco action. I'd be remiss to not mention our EcoAnxiety to eco action micro-credential. The next session starts on Monday, so January 22nd. It's a 5-week online course, self-paced. You have access to everything right from the get-go. It's 5 modules. There are 3 Zoom sessions for interaction, talking to educators from across North America, across Turtle Island. We've had very interesting discussions with lots of different people, and there are other ways to engage with participants. It gives some more strategies to manage eco-anxiety, to promote eco-action, and there's a certificate of completion. We would like to invite all you fine folks to join us. If you're interested, we have a promo code OUTDOOR50 for $50 for the course. So it's normally $99, but we would love to have as many people as possible join us. It's always a really, really wonderful experience. If you are interested, you can visit homeroom.earthrangers.com and click on professional development, or you can reach out to us. We would love to give you any information you need. So we have some time to talk about next steps, Nicole. Yeah.
Yes. So take a moment to think about what your biggest takeaway is from this information. We just kind of threw a lot at you, especially if you're still sort of at the beginning and thinking about your own eco-anxiety. It may be hard to really think through all the different things that you could do as far as strategies to cope with the eco-anxiety. But just really take a moment to think about what's your biggest takeaway and what is your next step going to be. So you don't have to necessarily tell us, but just take a moment, write it down. What are you going to do first?
We've got some answers in the chat. Take seriously what children come up with and help them follow through on their own ideas. Make environmental education age appropriate. Listen and facilitate. The things I can do to help myself and help my youth with first steps.
We've got to check out the Earth Rangers site. Yay.
Proactively engage, advocate for more opportunities, let children be the leaders. I want to take everything that's being written down and put it aside for me because it's all very inspiring. Using language that promotes taking care with preschool children. That's something I feel strongly about as well. Actions within their control, making sure students have actions that are within their control. Wow, so many great takeaways. Excellent.
I know.
Tailoring environmental education to cultural background.
I want to like read the whole chat now.
I know. I think we're supposed to be talking and I just want to keep reading. So thank you. If there are any questions. And Jade, we have a question for you.
Ooh,
Will we get access to everything that's in the chat? I want to read what everyone's reading.
Everybody else is asking for it as well, and I said, no, you're not allowed. I can save the chat for us. For everyone else, just for personal sharing privacy issues, we don't share the chat. I'm sorry. Just in case there's bits and pieces in there, we don't have the time to edit it and take out personal information. But Stephanie and Nicole, you will have access to it. Right. Diane shared she wanted to continue to offer an artistic platform to share and care for our community and climate. Okay, some questions for you. We've got a lovely bit of time. Stay to the end, everyone. Last few minutes will be some delicious prizes handed out, including 2 gift cards to the Outdoor Learning Store, 2 gift cards to Take Me Outside, and 5 free registrations to your EcoAnxiety micro-credential. Incredibly generous of Stephanie and Nicole. So hang about. Okay. Somebody, I just had a question. It's in here. So Carla said, could you go back a little for a second and talk about being mindful about the words we used? Save the planet, protect. Carla wasn't sure if those are words you're encouraging them to use, or are there better words? Like, do you have like some key words that you think are really successful?
For me, there's no one word that's better than the other word. It's really being mindful about your audience, who you're speaking to, what's the message you're trying to get across. I think occasionally when we're talking to younger people, to kids, we inadvertently speak about environmental issues from the point of view of an adult. So we're panicking, we're worried, we want to save the environment, we want to do this, and that can be interpreted or misinterpreted by children. So just being aware of how you're speaking and the words you're using. It's not that there's one that's better than the other. Like I said, save the planet, that can be a little bit anxiety inducing. I have to save it. But it can also be really, I saved the planet, I'm a superhero. So how the age, and I saw someone in the chat mention, and I think I read it aloud, about taking care of, for really little kids, is a good rule of thumb. But personally, I like the idea of taking care of, being responsible, but I think everything has its space. What do you think, Nicole?
Yeah, I would just add to that, just being cautious of making it sound like it's the kids' responsibility to save the world, because I think they're starting to get some youth are angry that the adults haven't figured out how to save the world, and we don't want to put that pressure on them. So I think we have to be careful if that language makes it sound like we're expecting them to save the world.
Really is, and it's really powerful stuff, and you will get certain kids where certain language will land in certain ways, or it might trigger them in certain ways. And knowing I have a group of eco superheroes, we made t-shirts, make recyclable bags, and then they made superhero masks, and that was very empowering for them to take action and take on. But maybe if you've got some more students who might feel that a gentler approach. The other thing I personally have found is just building relationship with the place you're in is always going to give them a sense of connection, and that connection for me has been an antidote to anxiety. And so that that outdoor piece of like going out there, reading a story about something, even if it's a big concept, but sat outside in circle, can be a softer place to receive that news. Okay, Brittany, I know that your focus is more on lower grades, like K to 7, but Brittany's asking, do you have any steps or ideas for teenagers or for some older grades?
One of the things that we do at Earth Rangers, we have ER Teens, which is our volunteer program for teens, and it's taking it a step further within the Earth Rangers program. Because kids are younger, it's a more guided approach. And one of the things that really empowers youth is to really like we said, take the driving seat, and a teenager can do that in a different way to a much further extent, and to exploit that, to let them really have full control of coming up with the idea. Not that the kids don't have control, but again, it's an age thing, but to really, so we work to help, we mentor youth who want to have an environmental impact project in their community. It's always a local community-based project. They come to us with the idea. We just mentor them. We help them think of questions and things that they need to take into account in order to carry out these projects. So that's one way for older youth, is to get them involved in projects. Nicole?
Yeah, just to you know, asking them what they want to do. I think we sometimes forget to ask kids questions. I think with the teen, you know, I think everything that we're talking about applies to pretty much any age in terms of those concepts of the 5 E's, as well as, you know, us as adults. But I think with teenagers, especially, asking them, like, again, you don't want to put too much on them. You don't want to put too much pressure on them, but really just sitting down and having that conversation. You know, what's important to you? What makes you angry? What are you upset about? Like, what are your ideas to solve it? And if they don't know, then, you know, then you give them some structure, but kind of start more open-ended and then provide the structure as needed. I think works really well for teens.
And I see someone in the chat said asking teens to teach something, and that's very empowering as well, to have them teach.
Definitely. And they go home and hopefully, you know, teach their parents and family members.
Upwards, you know, education that's top down and ground up and grows back through the generations. We had an amazing, because you mentioned about like kids not having access to making decisions about vehicle use, and a lot of my teenagers at my high school that I was doing some work with were like annoyed that, especially even in fall, the idling cars outside the school made it impossible for them to just like spend some time outside before they had to go inside and learn all day. As we do see that in high school years, that time outside is sort of devalued, which making a big push against. But we reached out, and the next question, sorry, I'm going to answer it because Katrina asked about grants, or Kathleen, sorry, about grants. Learning for a Sustainable Future, $500 climate action grants. If you're in Canada, there are on our website, we have a funding page. Have a look. There's some different options there. There's some in the US that are to do around climate, soil, and growing action projects. So please have a peek. But we got a $500 action grant. We worked with our municipality and designed new anti-idling signs. And the students, the city were like, yes, but they have to fit into a certain, you know, it has to look a certain way. I said, yeah, give me a template. And so we went, the kids across the entire middle and high school designed, and then there was a peer vote along with some of the teachers on their favorite designs. I've got to pull you up a picture because it's like young, you know, turn your engine off, young lungs working. And it just, some of them, they were great. They were quippy, and they're up outside now. All 4 schools in our school district live in the middle of nowhere, so it's small, but so empowering. They made the local newspaper. There's a legacy there. They were, it was their message, their minds, their art. And so collaboration, if you can, reach out to local nonprofits, reach out to your city and say, hey, what can we do? Okay. Oh gosh, there's a whole page of them. I didn't think there were any more questions, but they were below. Right. Alyssa's asking about like early childhood. We did see quite a few early childhood people in here, ages 2, 3, 4. Are you using the word climate change? We mentioned about climate care. But I'm still talking to tiny people about, or just building relationship with the environment.
Yeah, building relationship with the environment, having them observe things, beginning to see some of the interconnectedness, that we are all interconnected, that my behavior impacts the environment. I am part of the environment. You know, that interconnectedness, that fact that what we do impacts other other beings, the world around us, nature that takes care of us. So the reciprocity there.
And helping them make observations, because I think even really little kids can observe. And I think that's such an important part of that awareness that we want people to have about nature. I went out with a group of littles, and they had not realized that pine cones came from the trees. So like those little things, like they had never learned that the pine cones were up there and then they fell because maybe they're little and they're just looking at the ground. It's like we sometimes forget to think from a perspective of a little one. If you're this big, you're not really looking up on the trees, and so if I hadn't been asking questions with these little ones, I wouldn't have known that they had never made that connection before. So just asking them, what do you see? Where did that come from? Like just helping them make observations, obviously getting outside, and then, but not just going outside, but having that call attention. Hey, look at that. Why do you think that leaf is this color and that leaf is that color? And just getting them to make observations can be really fun for them.
Beautiful. We've only got time for just one last question. And I see this sort of through the chat, and we talk about reciprocities coming up, relationship, respect, reciprocity. And someone asked, are you engaging in discussions about reciprocity? I think you just sort of touched on it there in terms of like, we are nature, we are not separate. I got into a real big thing with my sort of grade 6 and above where we were talking about there is no away. There's no away for your waste or your garbage. It goes somewhere. And then we went for a trip to the landfill. That can be revelatory if anyone's not done that. And then we did a waste timeline where we dressed up as different eras in time and looked at all of the waste that we produce and how it's started off with like rock shards and natural wastes, and then how that has shifted and changed and where it all goes. But do you touch on any sort of Indigenous ways of knowing and reciprocity in that in your course, or is that something that people can dive into as they go through their learning?
We do in the course. We talk about Indigenous-based land. What I'm confusing my words here, but we do. We acknowledge we are not Indigenous, so we amplify voices, we help direct people towards resources, towards people, but it is an extremely important way of knowing that needs, to be amplified.
Yeah, there's some beautiful resources out there, like Sealer and the Land's a beautiful story we have in store, or a book like Groundswell, especially with older students. There's a collection of essays written by Indigenous authors and some non-Indigenous folks in there together talking about ways that have been different cultures have looked at climate change and cared for the environment and lived in reciprocity and have made impacts there. So there's some really beautiful resources out there for people to dive into. It's been wonderful. It's on the hour. We're going to try and honor everybody's time because we love that all of you are here. There were 600 and we know a few people had to leave, but it's just magical. Nicole, Stephanie, thank you so much for sharing with us, and thank you for your beautiful gift of 5 opportunities to get involved. All of the contact, like links to Earth Rangers and stuff, will be in your follow-up email, along with a link to get your certificate, along with the recording. So please, we're not going to do sharing of slides, but you can watch the recording again, and then you'll be able to see all that information there for you. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much. Yes. And thank you everybody who was here.
So nice. And thanks everyone for being vulnerable in there and sharing your feelings. We know this is big work. Okay, everybody, we used to do fun, exciting quizzes and ask people to type ferociously, and it was all very overwhelming for some. And in the spirit of equity for our prizes now, we are going to share with random selection. And so I'm going to do the first. Okay, Joanne Hun. Joanne Hun, you are a winner of a $25 gift card to the Outdoor Learning Store. You can send Steph a message, a private message with your email, and whether or just whether you're in Canadian dollars or US dollars. And we can get your email from the back end and we'll connect you. Okay, second $25 gift card. Lisa Lopez. Lisa Lopez, that's another $25 gift card to the Outdoor Learning Store. Again, US or Canadian dollars for us. Okay. Anika Nasir. Anika Nasir, you got a $25 gift card to Take Me Outside, some beautiful ethically made outdoor learning, or there's also beautiful notepads. Okay, down into the middles. David Larson. David Larson, you have the second $25 gift card to Take Me Outside. Okay. Going away. Okay. Wendy Green Foley. Wendy Green Foley, you are the first winner of a free access to the EcoAnxiety micro-credential. Okay. Susan Hammond. Susan Hammond, you are the second winner for that joining the micro-credential. Mike Kent. I wonder if that's Mike Kent. I know, but Mike Kent, you are a third winner. Alicia Fontenot. Alicia Fontenot, fourth. That was one more. Math has never been my strong suit, everybody. Last but not least, Deborah Vine Smith. Deborah Vine Smith, you are the fifth and final winner. Wonderful. Okay, so we'll put the link to go and join the Zoom. We're not sure how many people are going to turn up. We're not sure how many people Kim can fit in his Zoom room, but we'll have a go. Thank you so much for that offer and for everyone to join us today. I wish you good evening, good night. I hope you sleep well. And whatever you're doing great work. However you're showing up, whatever your level is, we're grateful for the energy that you've shared with us tonight by being here. So thank you, and thank you for a beautiful workshop.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Night, everyone.